I'll put this clip now at the start of the video so you can watch the next minute and then not watch the next 20 odd minutes if you don't want to. Basically, I'm considering buying a narrowboat. It's going to be a 45-foot narrowboat. I've looked at boats that are in the £35,000 asking price region, which is a huge sum of money, so I've got to be very, very careful and very sensible and considerate in what I'm planning and what boat I end up with. I ultimately would say that I am more than happy on dry land. It's not like I'm sad or unhappy. I live a comfortable, simple life, but I feel like I'm getting into a rut, and ultimately, for me personally, I just feel that regardless of all the fors and against, the pros and the cons, ultimately, boat life is just something I'm happier with and something that I prefer. Whatever happens in the future, who knows, but I would feel like an absolute fool if in 10 years' time I'm stuck in a rut doing the same routine on dry land and I'm thinking, could have been on a boat for the last 10 years, could have been on a boat for even just 5 years of the last 10 years. But I would feel that I would have regret now if I didn't go for a boat, and so that's why I feel that I've got to do it. February had some of the coldest days of the year, or maybe I was just moored in the wrong place. Oh, hello there, didn't see you. I was just reading this book, My Narrowboat Life from Beginning to End. Should have a question mark on it these days, by me, Daniel Mark Brown. Well, if you're interested, it's available on Amazon. It's a paperback collection of my other Kindle books that are short boat life books, also available on Amazon. Link in the description, or head over to narrowboatbooks.com to go straight there. Oh, that was terrible. Oh, I don't know if I can leave that in. Oh, even for comedy value, that's poor. Hello there folks, I'm Dan Brown from sortofinteresting.com, which is actually an active working website again at last. Check it out if you want, there's not much there though. And today you're joining me in the Banana Box studio, perhaps for the last time ever. And today I really wanted to just give you a very brief, and this is brief by my standards, so probably about 30 minutes, but a very brief chat about some of the things I'm considering and thinking about at the moment as options for the near future. As basically, some of you may already know from Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and goodness knows where else, that I am considering buying and moving on to a narrowboat once again. And this is something that, again, some of you may know from various other bits of the internet, that I've been actually not only thinking about it, but actively going out and viewing potential liveaboard boats. So let's really break that down and talk about what's going on. So for anybody who's looking at me thinking, who on earth are you? I used to, up until about 2 years ago, live on a small narrowboat for 4 years. A very small 30-foot narrowboat, very basic, very old boat, but a boat that gave me a lot of joy and many, many happy memories. So again, great fun time in my life, but a very rough and ready existence. And ultimately, I decided to bring my boat life to an end when it got to the point where my little boat Tilly needed a lot of work doing to her, a lot of money spent to modernise her and bring her up to a potential liveaboard boat for the foreseeable future. And I just wasn't prepared to spend that money and then at the end of it still have a tiny 30-foot boat to try and live on for the future. Equally, I just didn't feel that I was committed enough to boat life for the long term to then invest a lot more money in an entirely different boat. And so ultimately, in the end, I decided, right, let's just go to dry land and see what's what. Because Narrowboat Tilly had been my first home that I'd moved from my mum's house to the boat. And then from the boat, I moved to a nice little place, beautiful little flat here at the top of a beautiful old building, views over Oswestry, my hometown, little balcony, wonderful. Can't tell you, it's a lovely place, and I can't fault my lifestyle living here at the moment, which I suppose I can, but only because everything now that I've been here for 2 years feels like it's over the top. But we'll talk about that in just a second. But ultimately, I'm not looking at boat life again from a position of unhappiness on dry land. That's really what I want you to take away from that. It's like, I can live comfortably and within my means here. I can do and have plenty of free time if I want. I can do overtime if I need more money, and I write me books and do YouTube stuff, and I could do a few other bits and pieces. Honestly, all sorts of stuff's going on. Bitcoin and goodness knows what else. But basically, although I am not rich by any standard whatsoever, I'm able to live on my own here and be comfortable. That's largely due to the lifestyle and how I've chosen to be very, very careful with my money. For example, I've never had any personal debt of any description, whether that's a loan, to money from family or anything like that. Never. It's always been the core to my life to never have anything like that. Perfect example is when I bought Narrowboat Tilly for £11,000. That was something that I could have had a boat years earlier than that and got a loan out and had the boat. But instead I waited, I saved up the money, and then I bought it outright. The only money I had given to me from my family at that point was £20 from my mum and £20 from my dad. I had £40 given to me out of an £11,000 total. So ultimately, that's, like I say, that sums up my lifestyle. That I would rather have waited and then bought the boat outright, which I did, than have the boat earlier, but then have the debt to repay and then have to worry about paying that debt back, rather than being able to enjoy the boat life without any debt, without any concerns or worries of, oh, got to get this money, got to get that money, oh, what about this? And so that's something that I've lived my entire life up to age 30 that I am now, coming up to 31. No debt, but to live like that without any debt, it's like I don't drive, and then other lifestyle things that keep the cost down. Don't drink, don't smoke, don't do drugs. I'm a very boring person, I can only apologise. And a lot of my hobbies, like I say, things like writing and YouTube, again, it's not like I'm sat here like a millionaire or anything, but they make money rather than lose money. And ultimately, I like to spend as much of my time out walking and cycling, which again, very low cost hobbies. So that's really how I try and live. And again, it's difficult, don't get me wrong. It made life on Narrowboat Tilly extremely difficult compared to if I had a car or something like that. But it's how I have the freedom to be like, right, let's relax, let's see how I live, let's see what's important, where can I save, where do I want to spend money. And so that's something that when I'm now out there looking at these boats that I could potentially be living on in the very near future, or if it all goes wrong, perhaps I won't be living on for months, maybe we'll never get to that distance, but who knows, fingers crossed that soon I'll be recording from a narrowboat again. So as I say, I haven't got any, I'm not unhappy or anything like that, but I feel that land life, I can see how people get stuck in ruts for all of their lives for decades on end, because after only 2 years, I already feel I've settled into this nice, easy lifestyle, this easy cycle of, right, work, oh, need to work a bit more, oh, I don't need to worry about working too much, so books coming in, oh, yeah, right, do that, and all the rest of it. And it's let me relax and get laid back. And in some respects, and this is what's really difficult to put into words, because it makes it sound way too sad or way too dramatic, but I almost feel as if there's no point to life, there's no aim, it's just an indefinite ongoing thing, which I know still if I was on a boat it'd be exactly the same, but I just feel ultimately that boat life's more fun. There will be a lot of changes compared to how I lived on Narrowboat Tilly going on to the next boat that I have. A lot of changes to make it a sensible thing as I'm getting older to be able to live long term on a boat. But ultimately, I feel as if my easy life now, I can't tell you, sometimes I would literally cycle well over 20 miles in a day to and from work between the boat and Oswestry. Whereas now, I literally wake up, quickly get changed, and I can run to work and be in work. I can walk slowly to work and get there in 10 minutes. Rather than, as I say, have potentially over a 10-mile commute each way, starting off before 7 a.m. and as well as you can imagine, 7 a.m. in all sorts of weather conditions is not the easiest, most comfortable start to a working day. But it was fun. It was hard work, but it was a crazy, chaotic life in many respects that I really enjoyed. Whereas now, like I say, there's no reason for me to make things too difficult. There's no reason for me to do this, do that, do the other. So again, even though it's easy, I can do stuff as I want. I can go out walking, and all of the cycling and walking that I do is purely for pleasure. But it sort of lowers your motivation. It lowers you. It makes it just, like you say, it's too easy to get stuck in that rut of like, oh, the weather's a bit bad, I'm not going to go out on my bike today. Whereas in the past, it would have been, oh, there's ice on the roads, oh, it's started to snow, oh, it's absolutely pouring down, right, gotta get on my bike. It kept you fit, it kept you motivated. And it's that sort of thing that I really enjoyed and really liked. And just throw in that sort of thing, along with obviously the general boating lifestyle of being able to moor up in some of the most beautiful rural locations, amazing countryside, peaceful places that I used to love. And of course, obviously on dry land, I can't just pick my flat up and walk it 3 miles down the road if I felt like it. So again, there's no problem with land life. It's just that for me personally, I feel that it's just not as fun. It's like my nan quizzed me and just put the simple question in one sentence: why do you want to go back to living on a boat? And my only response to that in one sentence, without any qualifiers or anything else, is it's just a better lifestyle. Which I would add immediately for anyone watching this. It's a better lifestyle, in my personal opinion, for the way I like to live. And obviously there's some people who would hate it and it'd be the worst thing ever. And that's absolutely fine. I'm not some sort of canal boat extremist or anything. So what are we talking about in these boats that we're looking at? Basically, I look at 40 to 50 foot long boats, which would have obviously a proper kitchen with proper things in it. Proper things, very descriptive there. Basically, you'd have a proper bedroom, proper bathroom and shower and everything sorted, proper kitchen fully loaded with appliances, and then a little living area. Basically, as long as I've got somewhere that I can put my laptop and write me books and do me videos, I'm happy. And as long as, oh yeah, of course, and I've got somewhere to sleep. But obviously on a much bigger boat than Tilly, because obviously going forward, if I'm sensibly and seriously considering living on a boat for decades to come potentially, then I need to make sure that I can live comfortably. Whereas in the past I would turn up on little narrowboat Tilly with my soaking wet, muddy, waterproof clothes, take those off and put them over a fire, turn the sofa bed into a bed from a sofa, and then put my head down about 3 foot away from soaking wet clothes, steaming the place up and that. Obviously, going forwards, it's like, if you've got a bed at one side of the boat, you could have all of your stuff nice and neat, drying off somewhere over a radiator or a fireplace, 40 foot away from your head or 30 foot away from your closed off bedroom and stuff like that. So firstly, the boat itself has got to be a bigger boat with what I would describe as the equivalent comfort to a house. I mean, there's boats out there that are they're palaces. They make a lot of actual bricks and mortar residences look like they are I don't know, I'm trying not to be insulting, but there are some boats that are nicer than any house I've been in. I'd say that much. That's a true statement right there. So I'd want a boat that basically had room to do different stuff and not be like, right, I'm going to be trying to draw something now, but then I've got to put that away because I've only got this one desk space to do my writing on, and then do my videos, and then like, oh, hang on, this is also going to be my table when I sit down to eat. So I'd want something that was sensibly laid out with a sensible amount of room. For example, one of the boats that I viewed recently, asking price in the region of £35,000. That's the other thing we need to talk about. We're talking serious investment here, which again is something, as I say, the way I've lived my life, trying to never have any debt. These are serious amounts of money that you're talking about disappearing from bank accounts and all the rest of it. So again, prohibitively expensive in some cases, I'll say that much. But one boat, for example, that I looked at, lovely boat, looks like it had been a liveaboard for somebody, maybe still is until it's sold. Basically, nice living area, open plan to the kitchen, bathroom separate, all that, bedroom, everything fine. The kitchen, and this for anyone who knows my little narrowboat Tilly, how basic that was. The kitchen on this boat that I viewed had its own separate wood burning stove compared to the other one that was in the living room. This had 2 wood burners on it with about 20 foot in between them. That's how serious a boat this was. So you had your separate kitchen dedicated little wood burner. You had a proper full-size cooker with various oven bits and pieces and 4 hobs. You had a full-size washing machine and a full-size fridge, and obviously your sink and all that sort of stuff. So literally, it's a sort of boat you could pay your money, move on to it, and you're sorted. You've got everything that you need right there. So that's the sort of boat that we're talking about when I'm talking about like a bigger, more livable, comfortable narrowboat. So again, that's one half of the battle of finding the right boat to begin with. But then, as I say, actually paying for it and thinking, what can I afford? How much do I want to spend? How much do I want to keep to one side in the bank if there's any disasters going on? And ultimately, I mean, it's very, very big of a decision for me. That's the biggest hurdle, obviously. So again, difficult to say really. How much am I actually willing to spend? There's more boats that I want to go and look at that are only in the 20,000, the high 20s, the 20-something thousands. Can't explain that correctly. My apologies. But you're looking at much cheaper boats there, but you're still talking about the best part of 30 grand. And that's something that I've got to be absolutely certain I'm making the right decision before I get anywhere near that level of investment in anything. I mean, like I say, Tilly cost me 11 grand, and that was more than enough back then, I can tell you. But as I say, going forward, thinking about this as a long-term investment, and how much am I willing to spend, how much value will I get from this, that or the other feature on board, how much is it going to cost me in maintenance. At some point, probably going to have to put new steel on it, going to need to save thousands to one side for that sort of work. Potential pitfalls absolutely everywhere in these sort of massive life decisions. So again, very difficult, very, very difficult to consider and think about in a clear-minded way. So let's say that I get this hypothetical boat. What does my life look like as soon as I'm back living on the canals? Well, firstly, as I say, the intention would be it would be a far easier lifestyle than on Tilly, just from the comfort of having a bigger boat with more facilities on it. But I would say my first thing that I would do is spend a couple of months just travelling around some of the places that I used to love to moor up and around on the Llangollen Canal, just to relive some of the fond old memories and remind myself of some of the places that I haven't been to for almost 2 years at this point, and over 2 years in some cases. So I do that and have my little tour around just to relive the old days really. But then by the end of the year, I would hope to have a permanent mooring somewhere, whether that's on a little online marina just at the side of the canal, or whether that's in a proper marina that's hidden away somewhere. And I'm not envisioning having a permanent, I spend all of my life and all of my boating life in a marina, but that acting, in many respects, in the years running up to me moving on to narrowboat Tilly, when I used to live at home with my mum, I've said in the past that it's a bit of a misnomer to say that I lived there, because it was my base that I spent a lot of my time at, but I actually was off out and about, going on holiday, going camping, spending multiple nights a week at different friends' houses and that sort of stuff. So even though that was the place I went back to, it wasn't as if when you say you live there, it makes it sound like it's like that's where you always are and can be found when you're not out and about. That's how I'd sort of view the marina, that I'd run into the marina every other month, or maybe for a couple of months here over these months, or what have you. If I was doing something in particular, I might go back to the marina but I would still want to go out travelling and going up and down the canal on a regular basis. Not as if I was continuous cruising sort of travelling, but I would feel like maybe even if I was in the marina for longer than I expected, I'd be like, oh right, I'll just go out for a week here, I'll just go out for a week there. And I would do a lot of those sort of trips where I might go out for a month at one point, go back for a month, maybe longer, maybe only go back for a week and then go out for another month in a different direction. But I would probably feel a lot more secure having a home mooring that for any emergencies or for any particular reason, I could just limp my way back to the marina and be like, right, let's rest and deal with whatever situation needs to be dealt with. And equally, it would be a nice, easy thing to have a nice place to go to when the hectic summer months come round on the canals as well, because the Llangollen Canal is a big tourist canal. So over the key holiday times, it can go from being an absolutely silent canal in the winter to one of the busiest stretches of canals that in the entire network. I mean, literally, I think Frankton Locks, not Frankton, Newmarton Locks were some of the busiest, if not the busiest areas of traffic going through on the canal sometime in the last couple of years. Again, forgive me, I've been away from the canals for a while. I'm rusty at these facts and figures. So somewhere nice and calm and quiet to go to, which I've spent some months in a marina in the past, which it didn't suit me really. So obviously that's why I'd have to pick and choose which marina I went into and where my particular spot was, and base my decisions on my long-term actual plans as the situations arose. So these are only hypothetical, ideal scenario sort of things I'm talking about. Equally, and this is a big one for your boy Dan Brown, I would also, regardless of what I want or how I've lived so far, I would intend by the end of this year to have not only learned to drive but also have a car. Again, I'm not talking about a car that's going to be fancy or anything. Cheapest, smallest, simplest car, and even that I don't intend to drive very often, but I'm considering this as like, right, I would have my marina mooring that I could go back to if I needed to. I'd have my car parked up there, or if I was going off on the canal for a 6-week adventure here or there, then I would do the incredible feats that I've seen other people do of take a car out or basically boat down a certain amount of miles, get on a little folding bike, pedal back down to wherever your car is, put the bike in the car, drive the car up ahead somewhere where it's relatively close to park by the canal, then boat down a bit further to the car, and again, the incredible cat and mouse game. But that's not something that I would want to do. I wouldn't want, personally, I wouldn't want to be trying to do that as a long distance, right? I'm going to boat continuously for 2 years and I'm going to try and take a car. That's not personally the way that I would want it to be. I'd want to basically have all of the options to live how I lived on Tilly, of getting up, getting on my bike and pedalling off from this random location, and again, waking up a beautiful middle of nowhere place, hop on my bike. By the time I get into town and get changed into my work clothes, be like, oh, flipping heck, why didn't I just take the car? But again, I don't envision the car and the marina being the beginning, middle and end of my boat life. I consider those being wonderful optional extras that as I get older and get less fit and less able to do the long distance cycling up and down all the rickety old roads that are falling apart down these country lanes, it's something that realistically has got to happen. I could not possibly, for an indefinite period of time, continue cycling over 10 miles into work, doing an 8-hour shift, and then cycling 10 miles back out in all weather conditions. So basically, the canal lifestyle, it would be about creating more options, I suppose, where if things were getting hard, I could go the easy option, get myself into my marina spot, and then just run over to the car on a rainy winter morning and then drive to work or drive to wherever I needed to go and what have you. So again, it's all about being sensible, being realistic, as I've said in the past, and it's something that I couldn't really put into words properly at first when I tried to explain it, that people thought I was like, oh, I can't bike anymore, I'm getting old, I'm almost 30, I'm coming up to 31 now. But I think that people misunderstood what I was trying to say with that when I was considering leaving boat life, is that basically I have always been obsessive with diaries and things like that, and I've got old walking records and old cycling things literally on apps where it tells you exactly how long it takes you to bike from one place to another and all that. So I knew from my walking diaries and my cycling records that even over the years from my early to mid-20s to my late 20s, even the time that I had Narrowboat Tilly, living that really active lifestyle, I was still getting slower, and I wasn't able to keep the pace of my walking and cycling like I had been. So what my fear was, and is really going forward, is that I don't want to find myself living on a boat and having to cycle long distances to friends, family and work, and basically have that continued degradation of how far I can ride, how fast I can ride, and how easy I actually find it. It's one thing doing long distance biking for pleasure and just for fun, but when you've got to do a long distance bike ride, work an 8-hour shift on your feet, and then get on your bike and go back, it's obviously a completely different situation. And that's one of the things, that's the sort of thing that if I'm going to have a boat and have it for the foreseeable future, this is why it's vital to make sensible decisions now, rather than find myself in another 4 years' time with Tilly going, okay, so I'm on this boat that's no longer suitable for how I want my lifestyle to be and what I want in my life. What am I going to do? And that's what it's all about. Being sensible, looking long term, and making sure that I try and absolutely bring to the minimum the potential disastrous situations and decisions that I could make, and lead myself to be in positions where I'm like, oh, I need this, this and this doing, but that's going to cost thousands upon thousands to do, and I've already spent this much on the boat already. I don't want to end up doing this, and oh, but am I happy enough? Am I convinced that this is what I want to do? So I've just cut that clip out of this part of the video that you saw at the start of the video, and I will simply say thank you so much if you've watched this far into a video, because that's absolutely ridiculous. The timer before editing is about to tick over the 30-minute mark. Unbelievable. I can't believe I can't keep these videos short. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. Sorry that I've got this cold. I'll be back with a proper video talking about proper stuff at some point. We'll be back in the countryside very soon as well. And well, just thank you so much. If you'd like to help me buy that boat, then please consider checking out the links in the description to see my little boat life books that I wrote. I've got my actual paperback version that's a collection of some of the Kindle versions. And well, at this point more than ever, it would really mean a huge amount to me. So thank you for everyone who's ever read any of my books and got in touch and that. It's just amazing. Thank you to all the people over the years who've been more than kind and more than generous. Really does mean a huge amount. So thank you so much. Links in the description. Check out the new website. It'll be steadily building in content as time goes on. But ultimately, until the next time, my friends, just have an absolutely fantastic day. I hope to see you back here again soon, and I hope to see you on the canal again soon. Till the next time, have a fantastic day, keep it boat worthy, and of course, my friends, farewell.